Imagine talking a bank robber into surrendering hostages using nothing but your voice and a few well-placed questions. That's literally Chris Voss's old job as the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator. In this book, he takes those life-or-death techniques and shows you how to use them in salary talks, business deals, and even arguments with your kid. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to read emotions, ask the right questions, and get people to talk themselves into your solution without ever meeting in the middle. Voss opens by trashing the old idea that negotiation is a chess match between two purely logical players. Real people, he says, are bundles of fear, ego, and gut feelings. And those emotions are actually steering the wheel, while logic just sits in the passenger seat making excuses. That's why in a hostage standoff, he never tried to out-argue anyone. He tried to make them feel heard first. One of his favorite tools is what he calls the late-night FM DJ voice. A slow, calm, almost soothing tone that instantly lowers tension. The same way a radio host's voice can make you feel relaxed, even during a traffic jam. He also flips the classic negotiation advice on its head. Instead of talking your opponent into agreeing with your logic, you slow down, listen hard, and let them reveal what they actually need. Think of a hostage taker screaming demands. The worst thing you could do is argue facts with him. The best thing is to just let him vent while you quietly gather clues about what's really going on. One of the simplest tricks in the book is called mirroring, and it's shockingly easy. You just repeat back the last 1 to 3 words someone said in a curious tone, like an echo. If a coworker says, "I can't stay late tonight," you simply say, "Can't stay late tonight?" And then you stay quiet. That silence is uncomfortable for the other person, so their brain rushes to fill it, usually by explaining themselves in more detail than they plan to. Voss discovered this technique works because it makes people feel like they're talking to someone genuinely similar to them, since mirroring is something we naturally do with people we already like. It costs you nothing and requires no clever comeback, yet it consistently gets people to reveal more of their real concerns, whether you're negotiating a car price or figuring out why your teenager is upset. Next comes labeling, which is basically narrating someone's emotions back to them without judging them. For example, saying, "It seems like you're worried this deal will fall through." Voss learned that when you name a fear out loud, it loses a lot of its grip, kind of like turning on a light in a dark room and realizing the scary shadow was just a coat on a chair. He's careful to say you should never claim, "I understand how you feel," because that phrase almost always triggers pushback, since nobody believes you truly get their situation. Instead, phrases like "it seems like" or "it sounds like" keep you neutral, so the other person doesn't feel boxed in or contradicted, and often they'll correct or confirm your label, which gives you even more honest information. He used labeling on actual hostage takers, calmly saying things like, "It sounds like you feel cornered right now," and watched tension visibly drop because the person finally felt understood instead of judged. Most people treat the word no as a total dead end, but Voss argues it's actually the beginning of real negotiation, because saying no makes people feel safe, in control, and protected, the way locking your front door does, even if nobody was going to break in anyway. So instead of chasing a yes, he'll deliberately ask questions designed to get a no, like asking, "Is now a bad time to talk?" Which feels way less pushy than "Would you like to talk now?" and paradoxically gets people to relax and engage. Getting an early no also filters out fake, coerced yeses, the kind people give just to end an awkward conversation, which tend to fall apart later anyway. He tells a story about negotiators who, instead of demanding hostage takers release captives, calmly asked, "Have you given up on getting out of this?" letting the criminal say no to giving up, while actually inching closer to surrender. In everyday terms, it's like asking a friend, "Would it be crazy to grab dinner Friday?" instead of forcing a yes or no ultimatum that puts them on the spot. Voss says, There are two phrases that sound almost identical, but mean totally different things in a negotiation. You're right, and that's right. If you hear "you're right," that person is usually just trying to end the conversation politely. The same way you might tell a rambling relative "you're right," just to change the subject. But if you carefully summarize someone's situation, feelings, and reasoning back to them so accurately that they respond with "that's right," something clicks. They feel truly understood, and real cooperation follows. To trigger that response, he recommends building a summary that blends the facts with the emotion behind them, almost like a mini recap of their whole side of the story. It's like when a friend finally says, "That's exactly it," after you perfectly describe why they're upset. Suddenly they're calmer and more willing to problem solve with you instead of against you. This one shift, aiming for "that's right" instead of settling for "you're right," is one of the simplest ways to know a negotiation is actually moving forward. When it comes to actual numbers, Voss teaches a technique called anchoring, where you deliberately start with an extreme number to shift the whole playing field. Similar to how a store first shows you a wildly expensive jacket, so the merely pricey one next to it suddenly looks reasonable. To soften the blow of a big ask, he suggests using a range instead of one hard number, like saying similar roles pay between X and Y, which feels less aggressive while still anchoring high. His favorite tool here is the calibrated question. Open-ended questions starting with how or what, like "how am I supposed to do that?" which sound helpless, but actually push the other side to solve your problem for you without ever feeling pressured or cornered. He avoids why questions almost entirely, because they sound accusatory and make people defensive, even if you didn't mean it that way. The real genius move is using all of this to make the other person feel like the final deal was actually their own idea. Because people defend solutions they believe they invented themselves way more fiercely than ones handed to them. For the final stretch of bargaining, Voss shares something called the Ackerman model, a step-by-step haggling pattern where you set a target price, then make offers that inch upward in shrinking, uneven amounts, like 65%, then 85%, then 95%, then a very precise final number like 97%, since oddly specific numbers feel more final and trustworthy than round ones. He also warns negotiators to stay alert for what he calls black swans, hidden pieces of information the other side is sitting on that could completely flip the negotiation if you find them. Similar to discovering mid-deal that the seller is actually desperate to move because they're relocating next week. To find these black swans, you keep asking calibrated questions and really listening for anything that doesn't quite add up. Finally, he stresses that no clever technique replaces genuine trust. So even after you land the deal, you nail down every specific detail in writing, because vague agreements are where good deals quietly fall apart later. Whether it's a hostage release or a used car sale, the same rule holds. The deal isn't real until it's specific, written, and actually followed through. The single biggest idea in Never Split the Difference is that negotiation isn't a battle of logic. It's a battle for emotional understanding. And whoever listens best usually wins. Master mirroring, labeling, calibrated questions, and that's right. And you'll walk into any conversation, from a raise to a road trip argument, far more prepared than the other side. If this breakdown helped, subscribe for more book summaries that actually teach you something you can use tomorrow.